What's up, guys? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Star Wars Talk. Robert Meyer Burnett the other day was talking about a supposed script that was in his possession for Star Wars Episode 9, Duel of the Fates, written by Colin Trevorrow. Yes, the original script for a movie that would have been in theaters now, but who's to say that this would have been the final draft, like the final draft, because there are lots of changes that happen, especially during production of a movie. Sometimes, the director will think of something, and say, hey, let's put in this, let's integrate this moment, let's add this and see how this works out, and then they all, have their final verdict in the editing room. So, in this script, I will say, long story short, for my opinion on this, is that this should have been the movie that we should have gotten. Okay, and I'm not sitting here saying, oh, because it's different, it's darker, and there's all this other shit, and Darth Vader's in it. No, it's not because of that. It's because as a cohesive trilogy, okay, very much like the original trilogy, and I'm not going to say, well, the original trilogy was completely planned, because there are certain things and elements, Luke and Leia, that weren't planned from day one with Star Wars, okay, 1977. So, with this movie, I want to say that Duel of the Fates would have been a nice, clean wrap-up for this trilogy, and it would have felt cohesive because, yes, despite how you felt about The Last Jedi, despite how you felt about the decisions that were made for certain characters in that movie, despite how you felt about Rose Tico, jazz hands, okay, it felt like a sequel to the first two movies, okay? Whereas The Rise of Skywalker felt like a sequel to The Force Awakens, ignoring some of the elements that The Last Jedi have unfolded. So with this script, Duel of the Fates, did you just hear that little in my voice? For this script, for Duel of the Fates, it's Robert Meyer Burnett's breaking it down, and I pinpointed things. I wrote down some things that stood out for me as far as the script goes, which I will display here in a second. That it felt like the most logical wrap-up to those first two films, as opposed to, spoiler alert, throwing her lineage. You're a Palpatine, you're this, you're that, you're this and that, and here's what happened to your parents, and now you're part of it. It just makes the universe feel smaller in a sense, where I was like, I don't mind Rey being a nobody, At first we were all like, she's Luke's daughter, she's got to be Luke's daughter, fuck, she's Luke's daughter, but it just makes more sense that not every character has to be related to somebody that we all knew in the Star Wars movies or TV shows. It's fine. It's okay. It's allowed to have a character come from nothing. That's what made her unique. You know what I'm saying? Now, in this case, in my opinion, it's not my movie, so I'm just saying what I would have preferred at the end of Rise of Skywalker, that is, she is a Palpatine. She should have just stayed with the name Rey Palpatine, at the end, instead of saying, I'm a Skywalker. Because Palpatine was a name associated with evil, and wanting to rule the galaxy. Fuck, we all saw the other 6 movies. So I'm not going to get into explanation, but we know the reputation of that name. How poetic and how beautiful and also just badass that she would have said Palpatine at the end of that. Now, here's a new generation carrying this name, a symbol of hope. You know what I'm saying? For the first time. Redeeming the name in a sense. Or I don't know if there's any redemption there, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it would have, I don't know. Just everyone at the theater already said Skywalker right before she said it. And that's how predictable and cliche this movie was. Not just a cliched Star Wars film, but just a cliche film, period. So, anyway, let's talk about this script. Star Wars Episode 9, Duel of the Fates. First off, that title, what a nice payoff and a send-off to the 9-part saga that we have, that is the Skywalker saga, that started off with, yes, technically Star Wars 1977, A New Hope, but we also have The Phantom Menace, which was Chapter 1, and that soundtrack had Duel of the Fates. That was like his #1 rock single, I guess you could say, in his career. Duel of the Fates was such a beautiful track, and what's not to be said about it? But I will say that in this movie, the title was appropriate. The title is also a payoff to what Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, brought. And so, with Duel of the Fates, I thought that was such a beautiful touch. How fucking poetic is that? That's great. It would have been The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, Duel of the Fates, whatever. Rise of Skywalker, whatever. Rise of whatever. Anyway, I didn't hate the movie. It's just it's a movie. So with Star Wars Episode 9, Duel of the Fates, like I said, I pinpointed certain things that stood out for me. So I'm going to break these things down for you and talk about these things from the script, choices that were made, character choices that are, given, and how the ending of this script is so different than what we've gotten that's in theaters right now. So let's talk about this. All right, so first off, Kylo Ren gains a new force power, all right? We basically follow Kylo Ren as he arrives on the planet that the ancient Sith Master Tor Valum calls home, okay? The decrepit alien once helped train Emperor Palpatine, but his home now lies in ruins, and a Sith helmet with a skull lies on the ground. All right, so pretty much in the script he says, a reminder that while the Jedi live on, the Sith become dust. All right, that's a horrible impression of what could have been. Coming face to face with the Sith, Kylo asks him if he trained Darth Plagueis, and Valum makes it clear that the name means nothing to him. A hint, perhaps, that Palpatine lied about his past? Either way, he makes it clear that Kylo needs to forget his past or he risks becoming just like the other dead Sith who have been left behind on this planet. Alright. Tor Valum says in the script that the living force is nourishment. The more one consumes, the stronger one becomes. To take life is to cheat death. Anyway, that's pretty much what he says. He shows Kylo how to essentially remove the Force from living beings, a power which is described as being vampiric in nature. That would have been right there. It's compelling. That screams Star Wars, like just the aspect of the Jedi and the Sith and all of that. Alright, so now we get to Coruscant in this movie. Coruscant, which is a planet that is very important in this movie, okay? And I'm sad as hell that we never got to return to this planet in this new trilogy, okay? We got a little piece of it in Rogue One, which I'm only acknowledging that because since Disney bought Lucasfilm, we haven't really gotten anything that was prequel-esque, and I'm kind of bummed about that because the prequels... it's not cancer or anything. On Coruscant, Finn is shocked by just how many of the planet's citizens are now living underground. Rose, who has a very important part in this movie, and I think that her role in this movie would have totally made up for the lack of writing that was given to her character in The Last Jedi. I didn't hate her character. I think Kelly Marie Tran is a fantastic actress for the material that she was given. I just felt like that the execution of that character just didn't work for me, didn't work for a lot of people apparently. So, but in this script, my God, she had a lot to do. So I don't know what the fuck JJ and company were thinking. But anyway, it says here that Rose points out that the rich don't spend much time thinking about the people that they stand on, and as our heroes enter the Jedi Temple, which we all seen in the prequels, they see that it's now inhabited by the homeless, which is very interesting to see where Coruscant ends up in this timeline years later after, Revenge of the Sith. Shit, even after Return of the Jedi. But in Return of the Jedi, we never really got into, in depth with the planet, like what's been going on and all this stuff. We just saw them celebrating the shit. After the Empire was destroyed, they knocked the statue down. So we got that, but we didn't really get too much. So in this script, it really acknowledges where they're going with this and seeing how the planet, what the state of the planet is. It's described as a sad reminder of a better time, but there is some humor here as R2-D2 mocks C-3PO for being an elitist and standing out amongst the poor who are living and hiding on the planet. Alright, so Kylo Ren versus Darth Vader. This is the part that also stood out for me in this script. A lot of the stuff that I'm talking about stood out for me, but this part here had my imagination going crazy, okay? Back on Remnicor, which I hope I'm saying it right, but it doesn't matter because this movie was never made. Kylo Ren successfully removes the living force from various creatures. As this continues, Kylo notices a cave, which Valen refers to as a vergence in the Force. He enters and comes face to face with his grandfather, Darth Vader, and ultimately it's Vader who emerges victorious after Valen makes it clear that Ren is unworthy of being a Sith. The Supreme Leader drains the Force from his newfound master, killing him in the process. And who didn't see that one coming? So, Bossk. Remember Bossk? Okay. Bossk was in Empire Strikes Back. I almost pulled a little one there. Bossk was from the Empire Strikes Back. He was amongst the bounty hunters that was standing there when Darth Vader was walking past Boba Fett, and he says, no disintegrations. So, anyway, he makes his return in Duel of the Fates and sees the transmission that Finn and Rose successfully managed to send out to the galaxy, and apparently he's sitting like a sultan in his den of pleasures, and turns angrily towards the hologram projected from his servant droid, before it becomes clear that he too hates the First Order. Leia's message inspires people around the galaxy to no longer live in the shadows of the First Order, as it's time that they step into the light and fight for what they believe in. I thought that was pretty awesome, how at the end of the movie, towards this movie, is that instead of just everyone from the galaxy like we got in this movie, it was scoundrels and just the galaxy's biggest scumbags, you could pretty much. I thought that was great. Rey versus the Knights of Ren. Alright, this is where, in the Knights of Ren in Rise of Skywalker, they were just like fucking stormtroopers. They didn't do shit. Rey, Poe, Dameron, Chewbacca, and BB-8 are aboard a sailing ship before being attacked by the Knights of Ren. While fighting them, Rey has a series of visions and ultimately kills them. Something she seemingly regrets, but she wonders whether that's something a Jedi would do, and realizes that she knew them somehow. Telling Poe that he needs to return to the Resistance, he resists and successfully pushes away one of her Jedi mind tricks. There's a back and forth, and it turns out that there are hints throughout the entire script that he has feelings for her. Something that The Last Jedi at the end of that movie sort of set up when he was like, hey, I'm Poe. Or she says, I'm Rey. And then, he's like, I know. So that kind of sets up something, but whatever. And Rey kisses him, which causes Poe to submit to that mind trick and leave her to continue her journey to confront Kylo Ren alone. So they were back and forth, and he was resisting that mind, that when Kylo Ren was trying to force, Poe to give up the goods, but he was fighting back, not to do that mind trick shit. Well, Rey does the same thing, and he's pushing back, he's being relentless, but then to have him stop being relentless, she kisses him, and then he just fucking, forgets, and then he's like, I will go back to the First Order, or go back to the Resistance base, and blah, blah, blah. Which I thought it's adorable. That's awesome. Like, that's beautiful. It's so much better than the shit we got. Alright, so Leia is reunited with Lando Calrissian. So we find Leia in a smoky cabaret club owned by Lando Calrissian. Much different than his fate in The Last Jedi. In The Rise of Skywalker. I'm fucking up my vocabulary. Where he reveals that most of his clientele are First Order. She pleads with him to help her gather an army as he knows so many smugglers. And Lando reveals that he promised Han he would protect her if anything happened to his old friend and rival. Taking Leia to a docking bay, he insists that she leaves the planet as he can't protect her. Leia urges him to rejoin the fight and helps the Resistance, as he points out that we won a war once already. What good did that do? That's a good point. Kissing her on the forehead, he declines the general's offer. So, alright, so also here Rey learns more about her past in this script. Arriving in Mortis to confront Kylo Ren, Rey climbs an icy peak and finds statues of, robed ancients who appear to be Sith. Having a vision of her childhood and the last time she saw her parents, we see that they vowed to come back but never did. And meanwhile, the Battle of Coruscant begins as the Resistance makes a final stand against the First Order, and there are a number of big moments here, including Chewbacca flying an X-Wing, which is pretty awesome. That would have been great to see, and Rose being captured and tortured before, making her escape. Kylo Ren is reunited with Han Solo. This is something that's similar to The Rise of Skywalker, but we see Han Solo confront his son and make one final plea for him to give up the dark side and embrace his Ben Solo side. Unfortunately, Han fails to get him to give up his lightsaber, and Ren continues his journey up the mountain to confront Rey and find something he believes that will make him unstoppable in the temple. So, which is fucked. And the new one, there was more of an optimistic view of that encounter. Alright, so this is the part also to me that was like big checkmark asterisks here that I needed to talk about. So the truth about Rey's parents, alright? So as Kylo Ren and Rey confront each other, we learn from the latter that he's in great pain beneath his mask and that the dark side has left an empty husk inside. Okay, he encounters Rey's comments by offering her the chance to rule the galaxy alongside him, just like the ancients did. With the dark side and the light working with them in tandem. She rejects him though, okay, and reveals that she now knows what he did to her family. They didn't sell her for drinking money. Instead, they were hiding from Kylo Ren and his knights. And we then learned that the scene in The Force Awakens with the villains standing in the rain surrounded by those bodies was the night he killed them both at the behest of Supreme Leader Snoke. He admits to being responsible for their demise and takes credit for her being safe on Jakku. Holy fuck. That is compelling. And that alone makes me not like what we've gotten in The Rise of Skywalker. And yet you could sit there and force yourself to say, no, I like The Rise of Skywalker. I think that what they did was fine. Okay, great. But in reality, this was better. Now, Ren makes it clear that everything he wants is behind those temple doors, and they both sap the living force from each other as they fight. He gains the upper hand and strikes Rey across the face, leaving a Jedi with a scar which runs from her cheek to her forehead. Holy shit, screaming in pain as she falls down to the temple stairs. She's left blinded. Finally, the villain has what he wants and enters the Temple of Mortis to gain his prize. You know what I mean? So, now... This is what I was. This R2D2 bit here from the Duel of the Fates script. Pretty much as the battle rages on Coruscant, both on the ground and in the sky, R2D2 is destroyed. Unfortunately, his head is scorched, and we see 3PO's emotional reaction to losing his best friend. Finn is also left speechless, and Chewbacca straps the beloved droid to his back. That sucks. It's the only thing I didn't like. R2 should always live. He's seen everything. Kylo Ren's prize. Now, I remember talking about how Luke warned Kylo Ren with a friend that he would gain nothing from heading down his dark path. Well, there's nothing in the temple. It's empty, and he's furious. He slashes the statues inside with his lightsaber before Luke appears to tell him that he's lost. Okay, he's gone. He's out there. He's gone. Just mentally, he's not Ben Solo. What we've gotten in the movie that's in theaters right now is definitely not what, So, pretty much making it clear that Ren can't be saved at this point. And Luke says that his nephew is no Skywalker. And at this conversation, as this conversation takes place, Rey blindfolds herself with a piece of cloth. The Force surrounds us, Luke says. It penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together. We are bound by the Force, and we will not be broken. And his Force Ghost vanishes, and the battle between Rey and Kylo continues. And back on Coruscant, the fight is still taking place, but we still don't have the full story. And it sounds like Lando does return, but we'll have, I'll have more on that soon. General Hux, there's no redemption for General Hux in this movie. As we learned during the film that he collects lightsabers and wants to use the Force but can't. And once it becomes clear that the First Order is going to lose, he pulls out a purple lightsaber from his collection. Could it be Mace Windu's? Who knows? And uses it to commit suicide. Needless to say, this seems like a far more fitting end for the villain. But if you got Disney running the show, they're going to be like, no, you make him a hero because everyone needs to be redeemed, even if you kill your own dad. Rey's real name is revealed also in this script. It says that a fight to the death between Rey and Kylo ensues. They evenly matched, but his lightsaber is destroyed along with most of his hand. Rey stands above him, and he uses his newfound ability to drain the Force from her. healing his face and removing the metal attachment he had to cover part of his face with earlier in the film. Leia senses what's happening as he begins to kill Rey and reaches out to her son one final time. She begs him to come home, and feeling what Darth Vader felt when Luke pleaded for help all those years ago, he returns her life force and is reduced to an empty shell. With his dying breath, he reveals that her name is Rey Palpatine. Just kidding. It's Rey Solana. Okay? Solana. S-O-L-A-N-A. The return of some familiar faces. She's regained her sight, but Rey is badly injured. Light fills up the space around her. She rises with energy. The light engulfs the frame until we reach a place beyond what we know, the astral plane. Here she meets Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, and Luke, who offer her a chance to stay. However, as she embraced the dark side and the light, she brought back balance to the Force and within herself. She chooses to return to the land of the living, where she will experience both love and loss. And there's one final message from Obi-Wan Kenobi. He says, "You are Jedi Rey Solana, but you will not be the last." After defeating the First Order, at the end, we see Chewbacca repairing R2-D2. And Leia inserts the droid's memories bank as he comes back to life. Yay! He projects 60 years of his memory, including key moments from A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. Leia is taken aback seeing these glimpses of history, but is a fitting tribute to what's come before. Then we cut to a planet where Rey is training a new group of Jedi with Finn. And that is pretty much your gist of Duel of the Fates. Now, this is a script that I absolutely adored, loved, and I could see how complicated it would have been, especially after the death of Carrie Fisher, because Leia, it's a very Leia-heavy script, and Leia has a lot to do in this movie, of the responsibility that she has, and unfortunately, because of her death in real life, they only could come up with the footage that they didn't use for The Force Awakens to be integrated in the Rise of Skywalker. So, unfortunately, they couldn't even make this movie even if they wanted to. They could have made this movie and probably used less of Leia, but I don't know how effective it would have been, because Leia is important to this story, and it just would have felt a little out of place if you would have had some other character handle those things. You know what I'm saying? She is the last person that's alive within the original three. So it makes sense. But unfortunately, they didn't go with the script, and Colin Trevorrow was let go, and The Rise of Skywalker is what we have. So, but this will definitely not be the last of me talking about this. I just wanted to break this down for you really quick because I got really excited. I got really jazzed that this is a movie that would have happened. But look, man, decisions are decisions. Business is business. Kathleen Kennedy, look, she's done this job longer. I can't say shit. I'm just the guy here that does YouTube, and I work full-time at a regular job. I'm not an executive in Hollywood, nor do I have a resume of greats. So I can't tell her how she's doing her job. I mean, that would feel like I would look like and feel like a fucking idiot. But I will say this, is that whatever decision process was made, I'm sure it was for the best, but unfortunately, we've gotten more than one Star Wars movie lately since Disney has bought Lucasfilm that hasn't really reached expectations for the fans, and I'm pretty sure for the studio as well. So I'm just saying that sometimes you just have to give a shit about the property that you're producing, and you have to just be more than just a movie producer. If you are part of this franchise, you're part of this world, it's world building still. Star Wars is expanding, so you're going to need a Jon Favreau, you're going to need a Dave Filoni, you're going to need somebody who knows the storyline, who knows the canon part, who can keep the continuity. And that's fine. Kathleen Kennedy, she's an excellent producer. I cannot say jack shit about her. Her resume stands for herself. As far as Star Wars goes, she's great at what she does. I just think that she needs somebody there that needs to fill her in on the knowledge on certain aspects for characters, consistency, all of that shit. Because I'm sorry, when you're reading comic books and they're telling you all this Poe Dameron stuff is canon, but then you watch Rise of Skywalker and then it's revealed that he was a spice runner back in his day, where in the origins of Poe Dameron that you're claiming that's part of canon, that you're stressing that's canon, where in this history of all of the shit that we've seen from before, did it say that he was a spice runner. You know what I'm saying? Now you're going to have to integrate a comic book, like a one-off issue, where he was like a spice runner for like, what, a couple of months, and then he went back to the resistance. Like, hello, what the fuck? So that's what I'm saying, is that you need to keep it consistent. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't need to be a spice runner in the past. That was stupid. Like, what was the point of that? Exactly. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I will be back with another episode of Star Wars Talk, breaking down this script even more. I have lots to say about this script, so stay tuned for that. I will have Star Wars videos for you every week. I am back with Star Wars Talk. Look, a lot of shit went down online with a lot of folks out there. There needs to be more Star Wars videos. There needs to be a bigger community. We need to get along again, because this fandom, man, let's be real. Star Wars fandom has crumbled since 2015. Fuck, it was sort of, like there, and people were liking it because Star Wars wasn't, in the limelight, but damn, since Star Wars was bought by Disney, everyone's like, fuck, now this is my movie, and this is what I want, and it's like, come on, just calm the fuck down, guys. It's just a movie, it's a franchise we all love. Remember when we all loved it? Remember when we were all together? Yay, cool, awesome. So, anyways, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to this channel. I'm trying to reach 30,000 subscribers. It will definitely help me out a lot. Hit the like button also, because it definitely lets me know that I'm doing something good. And thank you so much. Go ahead, comment below. What do you guys think of this script, A Duel of the Fates? Comment below and be part of this discussion, because I will be as well. Thank you so much once again. I will be back. But until then, I'm out. Peace.